All right, good morning. I'm going to bring my script open here. Let's review Eternal Card Game by Direwolf Studios. But first, why am I even playing an 8-year-old online card game with a withering player base to begin with? Well, after grinding out TCG Card Shop Simulator, I was in the mood for a casual PvP card game. I briefly checked out the modern version of Pokemon TCG Online, but was deterred by the overwhelming login bonus tutorial and the fact that all my old decks did not migrate and were deleted. I wish I recorded this, but I deleted the game, so you can discover that for yourself, but it's just not very enjoyable. I asked a friend who I would consider a true card game connoisseur if they had any recommendations for a casual PvP online card game that would be fun to get into for a short period, like maybe a couple weeks. And after some deliberation, this game came up. The style and gameplay reminded me of Hearthstone, which I have played before, but it was more appealing to me because I've never played this one, and from the Steam store, it seemed pretty polished and satisfying. The new player experience is decent. Once you're past the tutorial, you get a basic monocolor theme deck for each faction/color. I found these to be great for taking into the gauntlet and learning the basic mechanics of the game and the specialties of each faction. This game provides a beginner-friendly experience because you can hover the card to see what each mechanic does or what other cards interact with it. Here is a rough breakdown of the factions and their unique mechanics. Note that this game has a lot of mechanics and plenty of them spill over into each other, but this is what I noticed from the cards that are unlocked for a new player. Blue/Primal is all about stun and counterspell options. Red has burn mostly, which are spells that do direct damage, with some weapons mixed in. Green/Justice has Warcry mechanic, which buffs the next unit you draw when a unit with Warcry attacks. Yellow/Time seems to mostly be about power scaling, so just getting more mana faster. Purple/Shadow has discard, deadly, and some sacrificing mechanics. I liked Shadow the best, so I took the basic theme deck into casual PvP mode and proceeded to get absolutely turned upside down and shaken until the entire remaining player base got their wins of the day. Basically, as you might expect, the free decks are not really competitively viable. I got one win in 11 games, and frankly, that win felt like a stroke of luck. So given that, I turned my gaze back to the single player content to see if I could improve my card base as a free player through sheer force of will. I discovered Forge mode, which lets you construct a 25 card deck and keep the cards when it is over. After building your deck, you play 7 matches against AI, and your run is over after 2 losses. This game mode costs gold to play, which you can earn in Gauntlet or by doing quests. You can also buy packs with gold, but it seems to me that doing well in Forge is the most efficient way to spend gold in terms of getting more cards. In the Gauntlet, you play for no entry fee, pick any deck that you have, and then try to win 7 games against AI in a row without losing twice. The rewards are much smaller than Forge or winning in PvP, so eventually I stopped doing Gauntlet unless I was assigned a quest for it. When deck building, you can put 4 of one kind of card into a deck, and since the cards are virtual, those 4 cards can belong to any number of decks. So any extra cards you collect beyond 4 can be crushed into essence, which can be used to craft specific cards. At this point, I was still having fun with the game, but it was taking me a while to gain this resource. And even after gaining it, I wasn't even sure what cards to spend it on. I found a deck building site called Eternal Warcry and looked for some good competitive expedition decks. But as a noob, I wasn't really able to tell which ones were worth building towards. I decided to buy the starter pack for about 5 USD, which gives you one decent expedition deck and 4 or 5 throne decks. Expedition is the limited format that only allows the base set of cards plus the last 3 expansions, whereas Throne allows every card ever added to the game. In order to narrow my choices, keep it simpler, and increase my chances of winning, and doing it all for less essence, I decided to focus solely on Expedition. To be honest, the Expedition deck that I got from the starter pack is super fun to play. It comes with a very strong hero card called Will of Genev, which usually becomes your win condition, and you can use it to build other strong primal decks. I'm not 100% sure, but since Expedition is a limited game mode, there's a chance that if you buy the starter deck in a few months or beyond that, you will receive a different set of decks. Or potentially they would move this deck into Throne and you would receive a new Expedition deck. Once I got the starter pack deck, I took it into PvP and started doing a lot better. I started winning about 1 in 5 games, which still isn't great, but not bad for a precon, and a lot more enjoyable than hardly winning at all. Some part of that may be due to my MMR gradually bringing me down to the other noobs, like my hidden rank, or players trying out experimental decks, but whatever. I tried both casual and ranked mode, but anecdotally, I think ranked has more players and therefore a bigger pool of easier opponents. Let's take a look at the Steam player count graph. I think this game's heyday was right before Magic the Gathering Arena came out. This game has an account system where you can log in and play on your mobile device with the same account and cards as on PC. So I think that the average peak of 60 concurrent players is a little misleading on how dead this game really is. I found that no matter what time of day, I was always able to find a PvP ranked match within 1 to 2 minutes. That being said, I think match times for the draft mode are quite a bit longer, up to 5 or 6 minutes, because just less people are playing that due to the entry cost. Another downside of the diminishing player count is that nobody seems to be making content about this game. When I searched YouTube for a beginner's guide, I couldn't find anything newer than 5 years old. If you really like this game and want to keep it alive, you could be the one to fill this niche. Or, if you are that person making videos on this game, leave a comment and I will pin it if anyone who wants to get into Eternal, and maybe they'll find your channel. So yeah, that pretty much sums up my experience so far. This game is actually very fun for a casual online PvP card game, and it's possible to try out and have some fun for free. That being said, to really enjoy it, you have to be stubborn, hard-headed, and self-sufficient, because everyone else that's still around has already been playing for 7 years. I mean, I assume. People with more card game experience than me might have an easier time building a strong deck, because I just don't have a good sense for mana scaling, or some might call it building a deck with a good curve. If you insist on playing for free, expect to just get dunked on for a while until you happen to match against someone else with a free deck, or be okay with grinding out single player content for a while until you get the cards that you want. I don't think anyone should take my advice on how to be good at this game. I think my advice on whether you should play it or not is good, but the best strategy is probably to pick one mechanic that you like best and build around that until you can win. Warcry specifically seems very strong, but can be countered well enough with stun or deadly. I most frequently lost to decks with lots of hero cards, which are more expensive to craft. Specifically, multicolored decks with units that give influence on summon were really strong. At least those crushed me pretty often. High performance decks in the expedition list right now make use of a market mechanic, which lets you access a sideboard in the middle of the match for a well-rounded strategy and quick access to answers for your opponent's moves. But the starter deck and none of the free decks come with cards that interact with the market. I also think that you need a lot of cards that you can't just throw one in there and call it good. You need a deck kind of built around your market for it to be good. So, sorry, this part wasn't scripted, but I think you have to put a lot of essence in to get a deck that works like that. Okay, so I have about 25 hours in this game so far across Steam and mobile, and I'll likely keep playing here and there, at least for a couple more weeks, because I'm still having fun. Should you play Eternal Card Game by Direwolf Studios in 2026? Yes, but your experience may vary. I think, like I said, you need to be stubborn. You need to be willing to grind it out to get something strong and competitive going. Uh, but there is a lot of fun to be had in the single player part of the game. Um, and note that it's kind of dying. It's kind of withering away slowly. So hopefully it gets some kind of revival because I honestly like it. All right. See you in the next one.